You are now listening to Straight Blunt Podcast with my dad, Coach PR, producer Reed, and Christina.
The world is a ghetto.
Yeah. One of the best underrated groups of ever.
Yeah.
War is crazy.
Yeah.
War is. The funniest thing about War is that War came out during the era of like the late '60s. They were like one of the last groups to actually did a jam session. Most people may not know this, but did a jam session with Jimi Hendrix before he passed away.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So they did it and I think that's what made the music so good is because it would just be a bunch of people sitting around smoking weed and be like,
just chilling.
Somebody be like, yo, I've been working on this right here. Why don't you come in? And next thing you know, they done got a masterpiece.
Yeah, that come out of it. That time, I think my favorite group, I'm going with the Doors. That time,
you like the Doors?
I love the Doors. I love Jim Morrison. I love the Doors.
I like some of their music, but I wasn't like a
I'm
real
a Doors
huge
fan. I'm a Doors fan.
Like Zeppelin, I love Zeppelin.
I heard you say that.
Yeah, you said you like Zeppelin.
No,
Yeah.
No, I don't like Zeppelin. I
love Zeppelin.
I love Zeppelin.
And
you
you
look at what Zeppelin did with like Cashmere and all these other records. Fool in the Rain. Let me tell you a funny story about Fool in the Rain. Right.
Before you say that though, we have to introduce who we have right here.
Oh yes.
I said right?
It became like a jam session.
Yeah, right. We just said vibing out. Right? She was vibing out with us too. Deborah Mannis-Gardner. Did I say that right?
You said it right.
DMG.
Deborah Mannis-Gardner. DMG. In the house.
DMG is in the house.
Not DMV, but DMG.
DMG. We're going to talk some music, sample clearance. And that's your expertise, right?
That's my expertise. I've been doing sample clearances since 1990.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, I do all the music clearances for video games. I handle all of Rockstar video games like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption. Woo, woo, just released that.
Red Dead Redemption, that's the big game.
Yeah, that's the game right now.
Big money game.
And I do music supervision. I did the movie The Defiant Ones, the story of Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
That was me.
Okay. Congratulations.
Y'all already vibrating with the war people. Y'all love war and everything. She love war, right?
I do.
War is like such a dope band, and most of the craziest thing.
What you
gonna
say?
Yeah. Their following is really like because they're from like Watts, so their following is really like Mexican, Hispanic, leaning. Like they're big, like
huge Latino.
And you would think that they were like Latino, but the band was predominantly black.
But they had that Latino sound to it.
They had that
sound to it, that was really had that feel.
And I think that
Cheech and Chong sound.
What I think it was is because a couple of the dudes grew up in Chicago. So they grew up in high school playing drums, and then they ended up moving out west, chasing. Because remember back in the days, you either had to come to New York, or you had to go to LA.
That was it. New York or LA. New York or Cali, yep.
So it was like either split. If you was in Chicago, you'd be like, well, I'm going to go to New York or I'm going to go to LA
That's
and
right.
try and get
That's
it.
right.
That was.
And Deborah, you're not from New York, right?
I'm a weird combination. I was born in Delaware, but I spent most of my adult life here in New York, and then I left here after 9/11 to raise my son, and brought him back to Delaware to raise him.
That's a weird combination. I thought you were gonna say some other shit. Like that. That's not bad, see? That's not bad, but we have a lot of stuff to dig in and ask you all about sample clearing. And I know he's big into the production. Adam said he loves music, that's why he hung around. And me, I'm just here just to learn. Because there's people out there that want to be educated. So we can start off with...
especially with sample clearance.
What you got start shooting at her, Reed. Like, let's go.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were speaking a little earlier, and you were telling us a couple of records that you were on. So, like, we're just trying to figure out, like Adam was asking, when you... What do you look for when sampling a record as far as, like... whoever you're gonna get it clear from, like you said, the
Janet Kendrick record, she took 90%.
Right, like, so how do you avoid that?
Can you avoid that?
Yeah, can you avoid that? Right.
But that's a lot of layers to that question.
Yeah, right.
So just to give you
a lot of layer juice. So
let's step back. Let's talk about what sample clearances are. It's two ways of doing it. One is you've lifted the original recording, or the other is you've interpolated. You've either resung or you've replayed. Okay. If you've lifted the original recording, there's two sides to clear. There's the publishing side and the master side.
Right.
If you've interpolated or replayed, it's just a publishing that you need to clear.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. So you've gone into the studio. You're in the studio and you're digging through the crates and you find something you want to sample. And you've lifted it, and you've decided, I'm going to use this bass line. I'm going to lift this bass line. The value of that sample is based on how extensive the use is. So you've got this bass line that you've sampled, let's say it's Love Hangover, and you've incorporated it into a new song.
Thank you, Adam. Showing your damn age.
That's just music like
But the publishing is Joe Bet, Sony ATV.
That's your man, Barry Gordy.
She's looking at you like, okay.
All right, I'm enjoying this. So that bass line, if someone's just rapping on top of a bass line, that's a pretty extensive use. It has a much higher value, if you would. Maybe it's got a 50 or 60% value because there's only two elements to the song.
Right.
Let's say you've sampled this bass line, but you've got vocals, you've added drums, you've added all these other layers to it. I go in as the clearance agent and I say, well, can we get this lower? Can we get this at 25 or 30 or 35%? Because you have all these other elements that create the song.
Okay.
That's
right.
how I do it.
Okay.
I don't try to get necessarily the lowest quote. I get the fairest quote. Because if you've used a huge sample and it's the whole song, then that person needs to be compensated for it.
Right.
I don't agree to 100% quote. I don't even really like the 90% quote, but it's Janet, and
Right.
she's doesn't always approve stuff.
Right.
Who's the worst person? That's what I want. Who's like the hardest person to clear some shit?
They
Like,
say Prince used to be hard.
Okay, so there's people.
that's
It's not people that are hard per se. There's some people that just don't like to be sampled or don't agree to it. Which is Anita Baker. She has always taken the position that she doesn't want her stuff changed in any way. Tracy Chapman, I'm sure you
Right,
all read
yeah.
about
Yeah,
the
with her and
situation
Nicki.
with Nicki. And they mentioned my name in the press, but I mean, we told Nicki it was denied, and we warned her in advance, and she thought if she reached out that
like,
it would
Nicki,
it would
Nicki
change
Minaj.
it, and
Nicki Minaj, though.
Tracy wanted to take legal action, and we're like, it wasn't used.
Right.
What Nicki did is she had it played on a radio show.
Yeah.
And
I think
that
Flex.
I think it was Flex. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it was
that's
Master
Flex.
Flex. So,
So,
so yeah, you can't sample Tracy Chapman. There are certain people you can't sample. When Prince was alive, he did not allow his stuff. As a matter of fact, Kendrick Pimp a Butterfly album tried to sample Prince. Prince thanked Kendrick. He's like, but I can't do it because ethically I just can't go down that path. Kendrick respected it. It was all good.
I don't understand.
Since he
like that.
passed, the estate has approved
Cleared
it.
a
We
few things.
we cleared it for will.i.am, so we have
Okay.
cleared it for a couple people.
Okay.
I've also seen it like now question, because for all the stuff that you do, is that being that we're talking about Prince, is that it's a commercial that you see now where they're using
Capital One
the Capital
commercial.
One commercial.
Right.
So is that something? So does that fall either under sampling or licensing?
That's called synchronization. That's when you're syncing up the music to a visual.
okay.
And so that's something completely different. So that's where you hear the Jackson 5
Yeah.
and Prince were both licensed for Capital One, and
Okay.
probably an outrageous amount of money.
Ooh,
But those are the estates that did those deals. Those two people, had they been alive,
Probably
would have
done it.
never approved it.
Why do people do that? Because I'm figuring like if you come to me, you ask me to sample a song for me, probably be trash anyway. But anyway, and you sample it, that helps my career, as that was dead already, and then I'm still gonna get some. Wouldn't I get some of that publishing also?
Yeah, I mean, so things have changed. Perfect example of that is Bob James.
Right.
We all love Bob James.
He's dope.
Okay.
Some Taxi.
Oh, okay, right.
From Taxi.
Bob James.
He did that's right.
Yeah.
I told you know what? I'm so busy.
He did the song.
thinking of
the
taking.
Taxi did
Right,
from
he
the
did.
TV show.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always think of "Take Me to the Mardi Gras," which he did the cover of the Paul Simon song.
that song.
Yeah.
So Bob James, when we first used to hit him up, he was not into sampling whatsoever. He thought of it as theft. He didn't like it whatsoever. Now he loves it. He
Like,
loves
come
when
get
people.
this.
Yeah,
But why wouldn't you? That's actually
because it's money. But you know
Right.
what? But don't forget, with sampling, we first started clearing stuff in 1990. First of all, this was a phase, hip hop and rap. That was a phase. It wasn't going to last. That's not real music.
That's what they were saying.
Right?
Right.
And sampling was theft. You're stealing.
Right.
You don't know how to play an instrument. All that negative stuff is what they used to say. You know, where were we? 28 years later, 29 years later, I've been doing this. And they're like, oh, how much money can I make? And, you know.
They see the money now.
Have you ever heard of, when I worked at Warner for a minute, they had the Biz Markie rule.
Oh, he must be the highest.
You know what? Biz Markie, Biz was my client. I worked on his stuff after the lawsuit. Those were a bunch of attorneys that were trying to do something and didn't do it the right way. And now 98% of the attorneys hire me to do their clearances. They don't do it themselves.
Basically, when Biz did that one album and he didn't get he didn't get him cleared the right way. He made nothing off of that, and they sued the shit out of Warner.
Well, that was cease and desist.
Yeah.
That was like when the beginning of
when they pulled it. But that doesn't happen anymore. We don't do cease and desist anymore. We always work out a deal. It always comes down to monetary satisfaction.
So that cease and desist shit works great. It don't only necessarily work for music.
It works, but not for music.
Look, it worked. It worked. That's Bria's mother.
You stupid. But what I'm gonna say is, I forgot what I was gonna say. Okay, who's that just had the problem? Was that with LMA and
how like Jacqueline went and redid her record?
Right, yeah, her record.
Jack. To me, I thought that was the stupidest shit in the world.
Was that like the sample? Was that because the sample, or was that just
No, he just
redid the song, and just like, and they were pissed off because But I thought that, but he didn't. To me, I looked at it and said that if you've been in this game long enough, and we've been in this since like the inception of like hip hop, and remember like you always had that answer record back.
He always did.
That's all he did.
Okay.
It was just the answer record back over her record. That's all it was. He didn't do, and he killed it like in a good way. But they were like,
that was something different. That was a nice.
Yeah, it wasn't like he.
How about Pharrell? Pharrell just had his situation. With
you mean with the situation with Robin Thicke?
Yeah.
With the Marvin Gaye estate?
Yeah.
That was terrible.
I've got my own opinion.
What's that?
I think it's fucking bullshit. I don't. And can I say that?
Yeah.
Feel free.
Feel free to fucking curse now. Go ahead.
I think it was a similarity. And, I get people coming to me saying, I've got a blurred line situation. I'm like, there's no such thing as a blurred line situation. You either sampled something, you interpolated it, but if you're going to say that you were influenced by it, well, isn't that the whole basis of music is influence?
That's right.
But you know what I think just to go into a little deeper, what I think happened with Robin's situation and Marvin Gaye is if you ever listen to the song, it's a song with Robin Thicke and Jasmine Sullivan, where he basically did the whole Trouble Man verse over, and the Marvin's like family let it pass. He was like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan. And they're like, come on, you can't keep being a fan without, Right.
Mm-hmm. So you think they being selective? I guess it's
no. They were just like, dude, you keep doing it.
Yeah.
You're not.
They noticed it.
You're not paying. And the Trouble Man. If you go listen to the Trouble Man song, and you listen to the song, it's Robin Thicke and Jasmine Sullivan. It's the Trouble Man. You know how like in the Trouble Man record with Marvin Gaye, like I started out hard, baby. I'm not a singer, but and that's what he did the whole song.
Right.
Yeah.
Same key. It seemed like same key.
I know exactly.
That's why they were like this.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. You got the money to pay now.
And you did a lot of Bad Boys. Right,
I did.
Right.
Yeah.
What's your hip hop category?
Because I started with Puff when Bad Boy started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I handled all of the stuff that he was doing.
All the
from Puff. I didn't do Big's first album, but I did it after the first album, and I still work with the estate and handling other stuff that we're always trying to keep Biggie alive because he was so prevalent to us. But everything that Bad Boy released during that heyday, I have a really big plaque in my office with them thanking me with from Faith and Mace and Puff and Biggie and all that stuff.
Diddy got his sample.
He did.
That was his thing.
That was his thing. So
but
you stayed busy with that.
The remix came.
But the funny thing about it is how everybody was like, all he ever does is sample. No.
Right?
You don't remember that? Everybody was mad. That's all he ever does. But you be like, shit, he turned them hits.
He made hits.
He made hits.
What he did is he took songs that were pre-existing and he took them and brought them back.
Right.
That's what sampling did. Hamilton Bohannon.
Yep.
Syl Johnson. These are people that kids didn't know about, but then you sample it, you bring it back, and it brings it to the forefront.
Right.
That's the love. That's what I love about sampling. I
Yes.
get turned on to stuff that I didn't even know about
Right.
because
Yeah.
people sample it, and that's what's exciting. And then you start going on the internet.
You know who I thought did really well with that though too? Was Guru. Remember when he did the jazz
Yeah,
Mataz?
Jazz Mataz,
Because remember
yeah.
he's dipped into all of like the jazz
Yeah.
artists that
Yeah.
he didn't know when he started.
Right.
And he did
Yeah.
those different volumes of jazz Mataz. Like you're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like I never even would have known about Littlefoot Milton and
Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like
Yeah.
all these guys like
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Who was the number one? What artist was sampled the most? Is it James Brown, or was it somebody else
They
by now?
allege that it's between James Brown and Kool and the Gang.
James Brown, Cool and the Gang.
oh wow.
Kool and the Gang. Kool and the Gang has been sampled a lot.
I didn't know Cool and the Gang.
Yeah,
I think Bismarck.
I
know
think
Bismarck for hip-hop.
Warner Chappell has a statement saying that Kool and the Gang is the number one sample versus James Brown, and they publish both. They handle.
Yeah.
Warner Chappell has most of the 98% of the James Brown, and Kool and the Gang, and UME, the label, Universal label, and it's the masters.
I know
98%.
whatchamacallit though. I know Kool and the Gang was definitely happy with Will Smith. Summer Madness.
Yeah.
They was like, yes.
You know, those guys are great. I think their biggest thing is that all the people that have not cleared their stuff, and it hurts them because they created this music. Why wasn't it cleared? And then that's the whole argument that we still have. Why aren't people clearing samples? And that was the conversation we were having when I first walked in. Availability, time, cost.
Right.
So which is still an issue. And that's why I mentioned Tracklib, which is a company I'm now partnered with.
Yeah, tell us about Tracklib.
Which automates sample clearances. They've got tens of thousands of pre-existing songs. Impeach the President. They've got the Tough City catalog.
Right.
They've got stuff from Daptone, VP Records, so the reggae stuff. We've got old Chinese music from like 1918.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So Rich must be on there heavy.
So we're going
Sample
after
K-pop.
so we're going after a lot of the different ethnic sounding stuff. We're trying to get in some Bollywood stuff now as well. We've got stuff from Russia, Sweden, Poland, like all these different things.
Right.
And so instead of you digging through the crates on YouTube, which is what most of the people do, or Apple, and they find stuff that's very difficult to clear or expensive or cost prohibitive, it's right there in Tracklib. And Tracklib, so these aren't beats, okay? These are pre-existing songs.
The songs, the whole
with
songs.
the stems.
Oh wow.
With the stems. And we've got Philly Groove stuff as well, unreleased Philly Groove stuff. But you've got all these stems, so you can go on there. You don't get charged a fee to become a member or any of that kind of bullshit. You go in there. And then if you find something you like, you spend the $1.99 to download the audio, the music, so you've got it. You create your song, you go back on, you fill out the documents, and it can range from $50 to $500 to $2,500.
Depending on who the artist is.
Depending on what category. They have category A, B, and C. And then it's based on if it's 2 seconds, I think it's 2 seconds, 30 seconds, and 60 seconds. And that makes the determination. So before you even sample something, you can actually place your mouse over it gently, and it'll tell you what your cost is going to be.
Oh wow.
And then and then once you do it, you fill out the paperwork, you hit a button, you pay the fee, and you've got a sample license.
Oh wow.
And you're good to exploit the
You
material.
hear that, producers?
That's
This
dope.
is dope for you producers.
Yeah, so it's
But-
it's tracklib.com,
Tracklib.
tracklib.com. So it's amazing. And so everyone's like, well, you're a sample clearance agent or company. Why would you want to partner with this? Doesn't it hurt your business? No. You're always going to need me.
You always gonna call me regardless.
You're going to call, But what's exciting is if it's a copyright holder that would be more manageable or easier to deal with via Tracklib than going to them individually. That's, I'm not going to name names, but, there are people that are part of Tracklib that had I go to them individually, they wouldn't be as easy or as cost efficient.
Right.
Also, if you don't have a Puff Daddy budget, if you don't
Right,
have,
right.
a Drake budget,
Right.
a Nas budget,
Yeah.
that's the way you're going to be able to put out an album for not a lot of money. So
You know what's so funny is because I have a lot of friends that record out of Europe, and the cost of what they do, they can't believe the cost of what they charge to put an album together and everything included. Versus they'll be like, yeah, we for the album we're only spending $40,000 for the album. I'm like, for the album? shit, that's not even taking care of the first single here in the States. Oh my God! Like,
Well, yeah, because outside the United States, the publishers don't ask for these sample fees. In the United States, they all ask for non-recoupable sample fees. So, and that can range from $1,500 to $3,000. But if you've got 3 publishers, they all want to be paid the same amount.
right.
Nice.
So if it's $2,000, you got 3 publishers.
That's
There,
six grand.
you're starting at $6,000 right there,
Right there.
right there.
So my question is, what if you have a artist? Let's say like you got an artist that's from China, and you want to sample his music, and he may just be like just happy with just give me my points on the pub or whatever. How's that work? Versus, like an artist like when you name like the James Brown and the Cool in the Game.
Right,
This is a dude that's so unknown. You just happen to be watching Black Belt Theater and say, "Oh, let me
get that. Let me
ding,
break
ding,
Yeah, but
Right.
you can do that. I mean, and again, we've got all that Chinese music now on Tracklib,
Mhm.
but you can do deals. You can't never do a deal for free. Like if someone's like, "Oh man, it's all good. You can use my stuff." Never do that.
Right.
Give them
Because
at
they
least
could come back once you blow up. They could come right
yeah.
back.
So you make sure that you give. When I do stuff with
$10.
Def Jam, we usually do like 100 just to
Right.
make sure that we've shown in good faith that we've paid someone for their services.
Oh,
So you just make sure, and you make sure you do a contract and paperwork to cover it.
Right.
Anytime someone says anything to you over the phone, you need to put it back to them in writing. I mean, and that's why you hire me. I mean,
Right.
that's what I do. But
Right.
but let's say you can't afford my services, and I'm not a lot of money. I mean, you can go to my website.
What you starting off with?
My fees, they're flat fees.
What's the
Flat
flat
fee.
fee?
So if it's publishing and master,
Mm-hmm.
love hangover, I have to get publishing and master. For stage 1, which is researching the song, sending out the letter of request, and negotiating the fee, $325 for publishing, $325 for master.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
And I break it up like that because if it's an interpolation,
Right.
it's only $325.
Oh,
And then if it's
okay,
right, you only have to pay for half my work.
Right, exactly.
And it's stage 1 and stage 2. So stage 2 is I got the quotes in, you're happy with it, you want me to wrap it up, I put together the label copy, you confirm the deal, I request the licenses, I traffic the agreements, and I traffic all the contracts and the payments.
And that's just
Same
your
amount.
fee. That's just your
My fee,
right
just
now.
$325 for pub,
Oh, that's
$325 for master. And I have it broken down because let's say the sample gets denied, we never go to stage 2.
Right.
Let's say you're like, the master quote's too high, I'm going to replay it. So stage 2 is only going to be 1 fee, not 2 fees.
Right.
And here's the crazy thing. I posted all on my website. I'm that transparent. Everything I just said to you is right there on my website.
It's right there.
That's dope.
Because the whole idea of clearances and me able to hire someone is to know what those fees are going to be up front.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And so that's why I've always run my company that way. And if something's going to get denied, I'm not going to take your money, Missy. That's going to get denied. I'm
You
not.
tell them right off the
Tell them
bat.
up front.
You tell them
Always.
up
Like,
front.
they're like, well, we want to, Sweet Love by Anita. Guys, it's gonna be
Yeah.
Right,
Don't even waste your
right.
time.
And there are people that'll say, I still want to pay you to make it happen. I'm like, well, then you're going to pay me up front because you're going to get denied in 24 hours.
Right.
Let's just try anyway and see.
So,
right?
Right.
so now what if somebody replays it, like you said, like an interpretation of it? What
It
happens?
depends. If it's someone that I know, it's the writer that's going to still deny. Anita Baker, she wrote the song. I know it's still going to deny. I'm going to tell you, don't bother replaying it. It's still going to be denied.
Oh, wow.
So, what song is that you had, Sin?
Nina Simone.
Nina Simone.
So Nina Simone's a little bit different. Some of her catalog is with Sony, and some of her catalog is with Universal. If it's with Sony, you have to go to the estate as well with the attorney, who I know very well, and usually a fee is required. And then he actually collects these fees, and then it gets donated to different organizations to
Oh,
help
that's
people.
dope.
So it's not like he's a money-making person.
Right.
It's all done in the name of Nina.
Right.
So, but if it's like Logic sampled Nina Simone and it was a Universal master, we just cleared it through Universal. When Jay-Z sampled Nina Simone, it was Sony, and then it was split territory with King Records in Japan. So it was King Records Japan, Sony in the U.S., and then the estate. So there are 3 fees on the master side.
Oh, wow.
Did I answer that properly?
What if we replayed the instrumentation but actually use a voice?
Then it's still a master use.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about?
No one replays Nina Simone. Everyone wants her voice.
Yeah, everyone wants
It's
that
like
one track.
Goosebumps. How could you not, right?
Right, yeah. That's right. That's true.
What if you find like an old artist like a Billie Holiday,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to use like?
Still have to clear it.
No, I mean I know as far as like clearing.
Oh, like, is she available? Is Billie Holiday
No.
available?
Who's she?
Yeah, is she like available? Like if you wanted to, if she was,
If you wanted to use it.
You know what?
her
It
estate,
depends.
how
Right. It depends on the composition because Billie Holiday was not necessarily the writer of that stuff.
Right.
So it really depends on which copyright you're referring to.
Is Quincy hard to clear? Jones?
Yes. Yes, he doesn't. He cares about the language and content.
So is it something that you would have to use it, play for him first to get it cleared? Or?
Always, yeah. It has to be played, and the lyrics have to be submitted. And he has a representative who reviews all of this stuff for him.
I think it's just they have to really listen to the song to see if they want their music actually to be associated with your bullshit lyrics. If the lyrics is up to par with them, then yeah.
I mean, and you gotta realize. I mean,
it's not all about the money.
I've worked on some pretty foul shit. I mean, I did Onyx Black Vagina Finder, and you can imagine what it's like sending that request out, right? Okay.
That just sounded kind of weird. Vagina Finder.
That was my shit too.
You know, I worked on like I worked with what was the name, Mickey Apollon.
Okay.
So he had a song called My Dick.
Right.
So we tried to sample it.
My Dick.
So
looking for your Black Vagina.
So yeah, so then Margaret Chow created a song called My Pussy that sampled My Dick, and there's my request letter that says subject line, my pussy, my what was it?
My pussy for my dick.
My pussy as my dick is contained in my pussy was the subject line. Wow. And I didn't realize what I had written when I sent the letter out, but then like later on Facebook the copyright holder had put a picture of it saying, only in this business do you get a request letter like this. I'm like, oh shit, that's my request letter. So when you have profanity like that, sometimes people are like, no way in hell do I want to be part of that. Other people kind of just take it with a grain of salt. You just have to laugh.
Music, right?
Well, that's the whole thing. You can't always be so sensitive about stuff. Right. I mean, I don't have a problem with profanity. I don't have a problem with most of the lyrical content. And people are like, you're a woman. How could you stand it? Mm-hmm. You know what? It's art. It's an expression, and everyone has the right. And as long as no one's getting hurt by it.
Right.
Oh my God, I'm going to get so much hate mail now, aren't I? But art is an expression, and it's not for everyone to appreciate. It's not everyone to enjoy. Right. It's for that person who is listening to it or looking at it to make that decision if they like it.
Right.
You're right.
What label gives you like the hardest time to actually, to get the clearance?
Ooh, I don't think I want to really mention their name.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because I know sometimes some of those boutique labels are probably like that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of boutique labels.
The boutique ones.
Tend to be a little different.
They tell me that I'm challenging, and I tell them that they are challenging. You have to be respectful, especially when you're dealing with older people, and they've got these great catalogs that you just want to get used and exploited, and it's make money, and it's great, and they either are difficult or they just don't have a realistic understanding of what the fee should be. Mm-hmm. Someone came to me recently, I was clearing a sample, and he's like, $17,500 non-recoupable fee. And I'm like, hell no, I'm telling the client to pull it. He's like, whoa, wait, I've gotten this before. And I said, you might have gotten it before, but not through me, and that's not a reasonable number. I'm like, how about $2,000 and $6,000?
He said, what?
He agreed.
Oh.
He agreed because I'm like, you can have nothing,
right,
or you can have something.
True.
Right.
You can't be greedy in this business. Well, you can be, and then you're going to have less money in your bank account.
Yeah, because there's a lot of greedy people, and the whole industry is just...
There is, but I try to teach people not to be that way. I got this, rule with my company and my staff. If you're not having fun, find another job. And there's no disrespect, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right.
But you spend most of your life, your waking life, at your job.
At your job.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
And so if you're not happy and if you're not enjoying yourself, then you have a miserable life.
Smile, bitch! Come on! We gonna start this thing alright. Duval in the motherfucking house. Come on, come on. Hey, do it, baby, take it, baby. Hey, do it, baby, take it, baby. Hey, do it, baby, take it, baby.
Do you like edibles? Have you ever wanted to make them at home, hassle-free? Introducing the Magical Butter Machine, the easiest, most consistent way to make edibles at home. Perfect for growers that have extra plant material, you can use trim, buds, shake, sugar leaf, and all kinds of concentrates. If you make edibles, you need this machine. It takes all of the effort out of the process, and you don't have to waste a day making your infusions at home. Simply add your favorite herbs and your butter, cooking oil, or grain alcohol. Set your time and temperature, and the machine is going to do the rest. The high-power immersion blender is going to chop up your botanicals, while the internal heating unit is going to maintain the perfect temperature for your infusion. The Magical Butter Machine comes with everything you need to make extractions at home, Included with your machine is the reusable Purify filter bag for straining and the heat-resistant silicone Love Glove. Infuse butters, oils, and tinctures at the touch of a button. To get your own magical butter machine today, go to magicalbutter.com and use promo code STRAIGHTBLUNT at checkout to save 20% off your purchase.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the only other time what you're doing is you're either sleeping, working, and then there's that
Or preparing for it.
or doing chores, you know, and then there's that small amount of time that you're having a good time. So you should be having fun with whatever you're doing.
Especially life is too short.
Exactly. So whether it's music, whether you're in hospitality, whether you're in the medical field, whatever you do, make sure you're happy, that you don't mind getting up in the morning and doing what you're doing.
What were you doing before 1990? Was that when you started?
You know, yeah. So before 1990, I was editing music videos for a music video pool. And, you know, and before that, I was an executive, like a secretary, an administrative assistant, you know, one of those, you know.
So what made you get into doing the
I mean,
sample kind?
You know, I joined a company to do music clearances, and it was really to do synchronization and karaoke, and it was doing all this other stuff. But this was the start of hip hop and rap. I was a punk rock chick.
Okay.
And I found that there was a huge
Blondie.
parallel between
Sex Pistols.
punk rock, Sex Pistols, the Germs, Catholic
Ramones.
Discipline, the Ramones, Susie and the Banshees, all that
you
stuff.
was over a CBG kid, huh?
I was one of those. But, you know, there was this, I thought there was a huge parallel. It was rebellious music. Hip hop and rap was rebellion.
Right.
That's what it was all about. It was a way of expressing what was going on in your life, in your neighborhood, in your world. And not doing it, not following, you know, I never wore Izod. I never wore a flipped up collar. I never fit into anything that was going on. You know, I had the mohawk and I had all the piercings and
The mohawk like your friend out there?
yeah.
More like you.
Yeah.
No, not like me. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is best start back here.
Yeah. So, you know, it was a way of rebelling. And that's why I really connected with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, who's doing the clearances? How are they getting the rights? And everyone's like, no one's really doing it. I'm like, there were no rules.
Find
Do you think
Find
that?
a lane.
Do you think that because, like you said, when hip hop was so new and I wrote about it like last week because you liked what I had written because I was in Mexico City and these 4 kids were doing a cipher on the street, and I was saying that the only true arts that America has given the world has only been jazz, gospel, the blues, and hip hop. And I'm saying when you look at the influence of hip hop, which they're storytelling, they're talking about their environment, like they're telling where they're coming from, like, and it was just crazy the power of the influence of it.
Yeah. She said it was back then. People looked at it was just
It's like a fad.
It's gonna pass.
So do you think that a lot of the early records that where they did use the samples, a lot of the other artists were like so naive, like, oh, they could use that. This is gonna play out in 2 years or whatever. Like
There was
that,
mixed feelings. You know, I was getting James Brown buyout deals for $500 back in 1992.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Shit. Wow.
Yeah. Like Me
$500.
By Me used a sample of Hey Hey. I got that for $500, and then it was a buyout, and that song ended up being a theme for a TV show called Tribeca.
Oh wow.
wow.
Yeah.
So can you explain for those that may not know what a buyout is?
Oh, buyout, which still happens. I just did it with an album for Black Eyed Peas. A buyout means a one-time fee.
Okay.
You pay once, and it's all media worldwide in perpetuity. That no other revenue is collected.
And that might be a mistake from the publisher, right? Because
It is. You know,
that record
it is a
becomes a
mistake.
huge record.
Right,
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, what did I just do?
Because you just said
20
all
minutes.
media
But you know-
worldwide in perpetuity.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes people do it because they don't want to have to chase after
money,
it,
yeah.
or they have taxes due, or there's a house they want to buy. You know,
So you catch them. You caught them.
yeah,
at a good time.
there's like, again, on the Black Eyed Peas album, which the last album, which I thought was amazing. It was chock full of like very 90s the way he used all these little pieces.
This is the
and samples.
most recent one
Yeah,
they just dropped.
yeah. Did you
I
listen
heard
to
about
it?
the album too.
I listened to it. No one ever
No.
did Black Eyed Peas. I'm like, go listen to it.
Somebody was praising that album.
It's
I mean,
great.
musical.
You don't need Fergie.
Yeah.
Fergie not in it. Fergie's not
She's
in it.
not in it,
on
but
the
he's got
album,
all these other
but I heard
guest
the album
people.
was they was praising that album. I gotta listen to it. Yeah,
When I first started working at Interscope, that was the first album I had to really work.
yeah, because they were Interscope at the time.
They are still.
The Where's the Love?
Yeah, they're
that
still.
was
Yeah.
And it was so funny because most people don't realize that's Justin Timberlake singing the hook, but he wouldn't be in the video.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of people like working with Will. I mean, he is just an amazing, brilliant,
definitely dope.
talented
He's
man. I
He's
mean,
dope.
gets so much
Pharrell's
respect.
Does he use that?
See, I worked with Pharrell when he was part of the Neptunes.
Yeah.
That's how far
Pharrell,
back I
yeah.
go.
Okay. Wow.
Do they use a lot of samples? Did he use a lot of samples?
Which one?
Well,
Does
Is that for this
Will?
last
Oh
album?
yeah, it was filled with samples, but we kept it under control. Where he walked away with at least 50% or more with almost every one of the compositions, even though it might have
dope,
3
dope.
samples. I mean,
Wow.
I worked really hard on that one. Really proud of that.
Question: you know how like sometime you'll look, you know, you don't really see it no more now. I remember back before you seen the liner notes that would be in the back of like the CDs, and you could see where they got the sample.
right.
exactly.
I know I missed that.
Yeah, me too.
Is if it wasn't a big record, let's say it was an album track, and you went through and sampled it, is that also difference in the value of how much you would pay for the sample?
No, it
you know,
shouldn't-
still like
no. It shouldn't be based on that. Like, but even that's my argument. If it's Marshall, if it's Eminem sampling something, or if it's Redman, or if it's Joe Blow, who's never, has no track record, I always am arguing that it should be based on what the sample is, like what and how extensive like it is in the song, and not that it's Marshall or Redman
Yeah, but
or anyone
I
I
else.
think that would make sense though too, because if you have suppose I want to sample something from Marshall, right, from M, and that album is Diamond, and I want to sample something for
And it
it.
may
I
be
think
like,
that value should be a little bit more
Yeah.
versus that if it was like it only sold 1 million,
yeah,
but it's
or,
you know what I mean.
or versus.
Well, no,
before
what
you
what I'm talking about is if you're the person doing the sampling. So if it's
Right.
Marshall who's doing the sampling, if it's Reggie,
Oh,
and
it's
then-
the sample
yeah, I
business.
tried to say Marshall shouldn't have to pay $20,000
No,
or
no, I got you.
$30,000.
I got-
Now, on the flip side, you're saying, well, if you sample something,
No. What I'm saying is, let's say for instance, before Marshall came out and got with Dre, he had put out a couple of independent albums, and let's just say me as an artist that's coming up, and he's on Brown Paper Records at that time,
Right,
And
before
I
he
want-
got in the stuff.
before he became
Right.
Marshall, and I'd be like, I want to use this, and you'd be like, well, that only sold around Detroit. It's only maybe sold
200,
5,000 copies
right.
total ever. That's what I'm saying. Versus the Marshall Mathers show, which is
Slim
Diamond.
Shady.
Right? Should it be
Slim
past?
Shady.
Is there a difference in
If
prices?
That's what I'm saying. It's a
Yeah.
difference in price. You'd be like, nobody really knew this song. Nobody really knew.
well, again,
is Marshall.
okay, so Joel Martin, I believe, owns both, that album as he's got the 8 Mile Style catalog for that, as well as his prior stuff. I think falls under Joel Martin because that's who I
Okay.
cleared it with
Okay.
when I did the Defiant ones. Again, my argument would be if it was a vocal snippet of Marshall in either one of these songs, my argument, and it's used maybe 2 times in the song, my argument to Joel Martin would be it's the small use. Irrelevant that it came from Marshall Mathers' album or pre-Marshall Mathers' album. It's Marshall's voice. It's recognizable, but it should have that same value of 5% or however the extent of it. But that's my job is to argue that.
Okay.
Shit, you
I like
worth
to.
the money.
I like to be able to. I like to argue. I can argue everything.
I hate to be in a relationship with you. What we having for dinner tonight?
And you heard what
We're
you
gonna
just said,
argue
right? I
about
like to argue.
everything.
Well, no, the thing is,
Turkey burgers with the sesame seed buns or the plain buns. Well, I feel like that the potato bun is you didn't give that as an option. You're like, oh, girl, go ahead and pick what you want.
well, that's the thing. I've been an expert witness before on stuff, and then I eventually, I did my last one recently and helped win a case for someone in the UK. But I've decided I really don't like being an expert witness because I can argue both sides. I can fight either side if I have to, and I feel as though that's not good. They say that's good to be an expert witness to be able to do both sides, but I kind of feel guilty that I can,
Because the one side, you'd be like, who's paying? Who's paying? Nah, hell no, they didn't do it. You say, oh, your check a little bit bigger. This is where the loophole came in right here.
So what do you want to take? What's your new the ad lib? What's it called?
Tracklib.
Tracklib.
That's
Sorry.
cool. Tracklib.
Tracklib. What's in the future for Tracklib?
Tracklib's pretty exciting. What we are doing is we're talking to copyright holders, and the term we use is like the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
All this music that these labels and publishers have that isn't earning any revenue, and people aren't even aware of it, and isn't exposed. take that stuff, put it into Tracklib, and let people sample it.
And start making some money.
Let this music generate revenue. Let these artists and writers who haven't seen money in a very long time start earning money again, but also to get some great new music out there. You know, and that's what I love about sampling, is because you're taking obscure music and you're exposing it to new people. And that's exciting.
And then even with the older people that you hear that sample, that sound, it takes you back to then. So the new people are learning, the older people are reminiscing. You might go back and download that album again.
And sampling is a skill set too, if you know how to do it right. Because it's always the way that you flip it. You flip a sample or something like that. You know, it's always
who uses sample the best.
Who you think Just Blaze?
Yeah, you got Just Blaze, you got Kanye, you got No ID, you got dudes like that. Like
what was Swiss doing? Swiss was doing something when the Rough Rider days. I think he was using one of those. A game or something.
Whatchamacallit?
Game sound.
Whatchamacallit? You gotta say it's probably like one of the top of all time was my man out of Detroit that passed away.
Oh, Jay Dilla.
Dilla.
Yeah, Dilla was nice.
Yeah, but you know, even the young people that are up and coming, I think Wonder Girl is amazing. I think she's, you know, Wonder Girl, Drumma Boy, Beethoven, DJ Mustard's good.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's, you know, it's nice that you.
I think Mustard refound his lane again.
Yeah.
What he did with the slow music. Because he got the new Mariah single.
Yeah. So I think, you know, there's always this continuation, but you know, even the guys that have been around for a while, Prince Paul's back recording albums again. Eric Sherman's doing an album again. You know, Redman's still doing stuff. Reggie, I love him.
You love Redman?
I love my Redman. I've been
working. He uses a lot of samples.
He does. I've been working with him since Eric and Parrish discovered him. Yeah. So, Alchemist is doing great stuff. I mean, there's so many. There's so many guys out there, so many producers. And what's cool about Tracklib is it's going to give young new producers the ability to sample and to get their stuff out and to be heard, and to have the samples cleared at the same time. And not spend a lot of money. So it's almost like an avenue to bring them to the next level, to be heard, to show their skills. Because sampling is a skill.
Right.
You know, I hate when these people are like, "Oh, sampling gets theft." It's a skill.
It's a skill.
You know, the person who says it's a theft, you know, let them try and do it, because it's not easy.
Yeah, it is a skill.
It's not as simple as just sampling something. Like you gotta
gotta
blend it. You gotta make the beat around.
I mean, what you're doing is you're taking all these different elements and you're creating a new song.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, how more beautiful is that?
Is it more expensive when you sample for just the instrumental or for vocals involved?
For Tracklib or for just in general?
Just in general.
Sometimes it depends on how you're using the vocal. I mean, I did stuff with Marshall where he used a vocal that was just really small. It was like, you know, like a 5%. So it, you know, it depends on how extensive that use is. You know, are you taking that vocal and using it as a stab, like a horn hit? Or are you taking a vocal and making it your chorus? So it really depends on how you're doing it.
Because, like, now it's funny that you asked that. I did see, like, on the underground show in the summertime, it was like producers, and they have like their MP, and they have their samples, their sound, and they'll be playing it without a live performance, but they would be doing a live performance on the MP of itself, doing the samples. I wonder, like, if you're just doing that, you'd have to get the sample cleared as well, and how would that be? Like,
I mean, the thing is with samples, you know, people are like, oh, if it's on SoundCloud and it's not for sale, I don't need to clear it. If it's a mixtape, I don't need to clear it. Unfortunately, this day and age, you use it, you have to clear it.
Right.
So I
even
mean,
if you put it for free, even if you're using it.
Okay, so you're putting it up for free. Why are you doing it? You're doing that to promote yourself.
Right.
If you're promoting yourself, then it has a value.
So they can still come at me, and
they do.
They will.
Or they might not come after you, but then once you make it big, they're going to go backwards and go after that stuff.
After that stuff, because you use it.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know who did that?
You know
who did that? Who killed a career with that? The Isley Brothers did. They killed Michael Bolton's career with that.
Oh wow.
Because in the 60s, the Isleys had put out this song, "Love Is Such a Wonderful Thing." Michael Bolton cleared it. Michael Bolton replayed it, sang it. Man, Mr. Big sat back and watched it go up the charts.
He just waited.
Michael Bolton, "Love is such a..." He's like, "Yes, it is."
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Hey. He probably called her up. "Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you check and see if there's a little bit of clearance on that record?" There was no clearance. Oh, hold on, Mike. We need 90% of all that.
Well, wasn't it more like a cover?
He did, but he did the cover, but he did the entire song.
Right. So
He
that's
did the entire
right.
song.
So it's just a cover. So he would just get 100% of that.
Yeah,
So.
Wouldn't
man.
get 100%.
Well, if it's
You
a
wouldn't.
cover, if it's a cover, they're going to get 100% of the writer's credit and publishing credit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's a cover.
the
You
song-
know you
the
ain't
song-
getting
know
paid
you
for
paid
that.
for
The
that.
song,
You already
the song
know.
like 4 or 5 million. 4 or 5 million. You like
Right. So that's
4-time platinum.
Yeah.
Ron said,
Let me get all of that.
"Run it."
What's the highest paid sample have you ever? Did you say that yet?
I haven't said that yet.
What's the highest paid sample?
Yeah.
Who's the
You
highest?
ain't gotta say the artist,
He does the highest like.
but we'd like for
amount.
you to.
The highest amount. There's an artist that sampled or did an interpolation of a Rod Temperton song. And,
Rod Temperton.
Rod
who's it?
Temperton, he did all the Heat Wave, all the Michael Jackson stuff.
Yeah.
That was Quincy
Yeah.
White and producing.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can't license his stuff anymore. But
Yeah, he passed away.
he passed away. He just left Universal. His widow brought it over to Warner Chappell. John did that deal. But
Big
and
John?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
big. And so it was a 6-figure plus 100% just to get permission to do it.
Oh,
Wow, 6-figure plus 100%.
I wonder how much. You know what? I'm wondering how much De La paid, because that would have been fell under Rod Temperton, and that would have fell up under Quincy when he did. Remember when they did the Break of Dawn?
Oh,
Because
right.
that was the Michael Jackson joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but back then, Rod Temperton stuff was available. There was this short window when he was pretty accommodating, and then he had his publisher at the time, which was Alma Music, send a letter out to all of us saying, "Please be advised that Rod Temperton material is not available for sampling." Capitol Records did the same thing. Please be advised, the Beatles are not available for sampling. So there was this whole wave of when writers and artists were telling their labels and publishers to send out these boilerplate letters.
So you can't sample Beatles.
No, you cannot.
But you can go. But what if you run up on Paul? Paul. Oh shit, Mike owns all
Mike
that
got
now.
that right, and then you have to go
got
through
all that.
Michael Jackson.
That's why they
stuff.
fell out. Paul taught Mike the
Paul,
game, and
yeah,
he
but
came.
Paul's trying to get his right. Paul is trying to secure his publishing rights back based under copyright law.
Right.
John Lennon stuff, Yoko re-signed with Sony, and so the rights will continue with Sony. And
That's them as solo artists though, not as the Beatles itself though.
For the stuff
as a writer,
Right, oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
as a writer, so, John's stuff will stay with Sony ATV. As a writer, Paul McCartney's trying to get his stuff back.
Man, it's funny. He taught Mike the game. Hey, Mike, this is what you need to do. Mike said, "For real?" Beatles stuff came up.
Ebony and Ivory, and then Mike was like, Ebony and Ebony.
Mike went up and snatched that bag, hit him with that bag. Paul said, "How you do this to me?"
He said, Ebony and Ebony.
You taught me
But
well.
he bought a lot of stuff. He bought Sly and the Family Stone. He's got the
Mike did?
My Jack catalog, yeah.
Oh, wow.
If you ever go on to Ask Ever Be Mine, you can look up My Jack. So it's not necessarily something written by Michael Jackson, but that's his catalog, and they have acquired a lot of stuff.
So it's not true that Mike was broke when he was before he passed.
I never heard that. They said he was broke.
People say he was going
No,
broke.
Mike
He
People
had
always
money.
talk. People
Yeah.
always talk.
That's crazy.
And as a client, he was actually, because he sampled, and he was great to deal with. His people were
Oh, yeah,
a
butterflies.
pleasure.
Yeah.
A pleasure to deal with.
Yeah, you worked with.
I worked with Michael. I worked with, well, not the estate. He was alive at the time, but yeah, I did work with Michael Jackson.
So you
And,
talked to
before-
him.
and no, I did not speak with Michael.
Oh, okay.
No, but I heard he's like
You have
this
a
on the
deep
phone.
voice?
Hello,
Yo,
yeah, hello,
what?
yeah.
It's
What's
Michael.
up? What's up? He don't talk like,
yeah, it's me, Mike. Like, I need that butterfly sample cleared right now. Tell the girls, that, they ain't nobody yet, but they can sing on it real quick with me.
But there's people I talk to. I mean, Khaled calls me, Busta Rhymes calls me. I mean, some of my clients, they call me and reach out to me directly.
hoo-ha.
Who did you get? What was your dream project that somebody called you and said, "Can we get the?" And that you had to actually go deal with that, maybe artist or producer.
I think that my
That you
one
were
of
like, "Oh my
one of my
God, this-"
most favorite projects was To Pimp a Butterfly. Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick.
Right.
And it was an honor.
It was an honor.
It was an honor working on that album.
Why?
Working with his
Why
people.
that album?
I mean,
You know what? What I listened
I
to,
love the album.
what I listened to, what I heard was different than what was released. What was
Yeah.
released was really polished over.
Okay.
What I worked from was really raw,
Right.
and it was exciting. And you had like 6 producers on one song, and you had all these, and you had just gotten back from Africa,
Right.
and South Africa specifically, where I go there on occasion, and I love visiting South Africa, and I got goosebumps listening to it. Just all the talent that came together on those songs.
Didn't he have
Was such a
Tupac?
thrill.
Was Tupac that conversation with Pac on that album?
I'm not sure. I know we will.
What
be
album was that?
Right.
Right, yeah, that's.
What album was that with the conversation with Pac and Pac was talking?
Was that this last one?
It was the last one, not the Pimp a Butterfly.
Was it Pimp the Butterfly? Oh, okay.
The
I
last
thought it was that one.
Yeah.
Like something like that. Even like you doing that with Pac, you have to get that clear.
Yeah,
like,
everything.
It's not sampled, but it's gets cleared, right?
Okay, so just like you own the rights to the likeness of your voice, if someone was to sample this podcast of your voice, they would need to get permission from you because you own your voice. So when you sample Tupac just talking or Biggie talking, you have to get the likeness.
So, that's good. There's 2 questions there.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm on somebody's album, and they took my voice from the radio, and they put it on the album. Mm-hmm. I'm entitled to, because that's my voice.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Christmas money.
Yeah. I might not get anything, maybe $5. Okay, second question
Maybe
is
$5.
Credit.
Credit. Second question. Public figures like the president, can you take his voice into the speech and use it for album and get away with that? That's what's that?
Okay, so if you're using like the president, who is a public figure, you do not need to clear his voice.
Okay, that's right.
But where you got his voice, if you took it from CNN, you need to clear with CNN. If you get it through the Library of Congress,
You got to clear.
then it's free.
So what if you happen to be standing in the crowd with your iPhone and you're
Doing a speech, like
he's doing a speech. Like let's say like an inauguration, you're there and you're recording. So there you don't have to clear anything with that, right?
Like, you ever see the movie Baby Driver?
Oh, that's my shit.
Yeah.
I love that joint.
Always do like making beats, taping shit, taping conversation, making beats.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
So one other question is, if it was an opportunity, because I know that you have certain people, you have people that actually go do this. They'll go look for like, let's say like older songs like from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or maybe these bands that may have had like one hits or whatever like that, and they go buy up their licensing. Would you say, is that a good business to get into?
There are people who are buying up catalogs left and right. They come to me on a regular basis looking to buy stuff. So yeah, you got a couple $1 million, I would highly recommend that you buy catalogs.
Oh wow!
It's big money.
Because some they said like some like you hear stories of some artists that sometime and they'll be like, this person was in such dire straits, they sold their catalog for like $20,000.
Yeah.
Then
I know somebody like I remember when the New Edition biopic came out, the Candy Girls. He owns a Candy Girl catalog. So so he I mean not the Candy Girl catalog, but he owns the Candy Girl record, the first album. So when the movie came out, they had to get the clearance to him.
That's beautiful, man. He taught us a lot.
Yeah,
it's my pleasure.
I feel good now because I'm gonna go get when he comes out from jail. I'm gonna ask him for my money though. You know what I'm talking about, Rick? Bro, I'm on your album, bro.
Yeah.
No, Max B. I'm gonna say his name, Max B. We appreciate.
Give me your information again.
Oh right.
Yes.
So
it's social media, your website.
Yeah, so it's
Tracklib.
www.dmgclearances.com. That's how you can find me. And then if you want to check out Tracklib, Tracklib.com, Tracklib.com. And they have a whole video on their website, so you can actually see what it's all about.
Okay.
So they're there to educate you as well. So you can watch a video, it gives what the prices are. Just like my website lists my prices, Tracklib lists theirs. And that's why I'm involved with these guys. They are very transparent. They're legit. They're Swedish.
Oh, wow.
That makes a difference?
No, I
don't know.
saying that.
Just feel like saying
Swedish House Mafia.
Thank you. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
A
lot of fun.
Before you go though.
Yes, sir.
You said Pimp
Butterfly.
What was your favorite song on the album?
King Kunta.
Yeah?
King Kunta.
King Kunta. That's what we let's go out with that.
You know what my favorite song is by Led Zeppelin?
What?
A Fool in the Rain.
A Fool. We should play that for you too.
Let's get into the
Because
last
he's a fool
man.
without rain. Alright, we'll take some pictures. Take some pictures. Right? Oh, right here.
Where do you want to take
Sit
pictures?
right here. I like these pictures.